I wanted to do a little experiment. I had heard people talk about running your RV fridge off of a 12-volt battery and how doing that is a bad idea because it's just going to blast through your battery. It'll be dead in no time. So I wanted to do a little experiment on that. And so what I have been told is that if the fridge is at temperature, that it really doesn't draw very much. It only draws as much as it needs to maintain that temperature. So my experiment was I would get my fridge down to temperature on 120 volt, like it would be sitting in my parking lot before I headed out camping. I put in a couple of water bottles just to give it a little bit of mass, and ran it overnight, and it got down to about 37 and change degrees Fahrenheit. I've got my battery is fully charged and it's drawing nothing right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm plugged into shore power right now. I will unplug from shore power, and then I will go and switch my fridge over from 120 volt to 12 volt, and we'll let it go and see how much draw this does. I'll check in maybe 6 hours from now, and maybe tomorrow and the next day, and kind of see where we're at. There will be nothing else drawing on the battery system, so this should give a pretty good representation of how much the fridge draws when it's running off a 12 volt. So I'm going to unplug the shore power with one hand and a foot. There we go. Then we'll go over here and we'll shut off our 120 and turn on our 12 volt. Alright, let's go back inside and see what that's drawing at this point. Alright, I'm back inside. So my thermostat is not working anymore because it runs off 120 volt and I don't have any of that going right now. Let's have a look at my battery monitor. Yeesh. It's drawing 115 volts right now, and getting about 8 amp per hour. So we'll see if there's something that's involved as part of the cutover, and if that calms down, or if this is the way it's going to be. We'll check back in, and well, we see right there that it's saying there's 26 hours and 38 minutes that before the battery will run out, running at this rate. So that would not be a good thing if this is the rate it's going to continue at, running off at 12 volt. So we'll check back in a little while and see where we're at. An hour has passed since I switched the fridge over from 120 volts to 12 volts. When I did that, it immediately jumped to drawing about 8.5 amps, which is a lot, and it would blow through my battery in probably about a day running at that amount. So let's see here. 1 hour's passed, see if that was just cut over or if there's actually going to be a consistent number it's drawing. Well, it's not a lot better. It's running at 100 watts right now, drawing 8 amps, and it's saying that it'd be 27.5 hours. Well, we'll give this a little while longer, and maybe I'm not going to run this experiment over multiple days. I'll check back in at 8 hours and see where it's at. See if anything has balanced out or if it's just going to continue to draw at this rate. 3 hours in. Let's have another look, see where we're at. So it's basically the same. Drawing 8 amps, 99 watts. This is about 25 hours until it drains my battery down. It doesn't look like it's going to drop down to some sort of reasonable maintenance mode. It's just going to keep on plugging away at 8 amps per hour, which that's devastating for 20 hours. Well, no, okay, let's see here. 8 amps per hour in 14 hours would be 112 amp hours that it would go through. And that would probably take just about every 12 volt deep cycle battery right down to zero, which you don't want to do because you wreck your battery doing that. I've got 230 amp hours on 2.6 volts, so it'll give me 25 hours. But yeah, even with a solar panel, I've got a 100 watt solar panel. Best case scenario, it'll do 5.5 amps per hour. That's not even enough to cover what the fridge is using, let alone put a charge back in, and then it would be running overnight and draining the battery. You might be able to kick it down the road, another 12 hours or something like that. You'd probably need 300 watts of solar panels in perfect sunny conditions to be able to continue to run like this. So I guess what everybody says, running your RV fridge off of a 12 volt battery, you're just going to drain it super quick. That appears to be the case. So I guess propane it is. I wanted to come up with what combination of battery storage and solar panel would allow us to run our fridge on 12 volt. And so the most common one would be a regular 12 volt deep cycle battery, which is about 110 amp hours. And you're not supposed to run those below 50%, so it really has 55 safe usable amp hours. So 55 amp hours divided by 8 amps per hour equals 7 hours. So it doesn't matter what wattage of solar panel you have, this ain't going to work. With only 55 amp hours, it would be impossible to make it through a night running at 8 amps per hour. So if we added a second 12 volt battery to our battery bank and hooked them up in parallel, that would give us 220 amp hours. And same philosophy, we only want to run it down 50%, so that would give us 110 usable amp hours. So 110 amp hours divided by 8 amps per hour would give us just slightly under 14 hours, which for the purpose of this theory would get us through the night. So this might be an option. So let's explore what the different solar panel options might provide for us. So assuming, again, that we have 10 hours of ideal conditions, with a 100 watt panel, we would be losing 25 amps over those 10 hours because of how much the fridge is drawing. So if you just went and turned on the fridge right before you went to bed on your first night, then you might be able to make it through the first night. With a 200 watt panel, you're going to produce 30 more amps than you draw during the day. So you'd be able to survive one night, all of the second day, and you might get 3 to 4 hours into your second night before your battery runs out. With a 300 watt panel, you're going to be producing 85 more amps than you're going to be drawing. So you would survive one night, then the second day, and most of the second night before you ran out. If you have 400 watts of solar panels,
then you're going to produce 140 amps more than you draw, and that should allow you to be able to run indefinitely, assuming that you're not drawing anything else. So to make this scenario work, you need a new battery, it'd be 150 bucks, 400 watts of solar, probably close to 700 bucks. New charge controller be 100 bucks, cabling 50 bucks. It's 1,000 bucks just to make this work. It makes a lot more sense to invest $25 and just fill your propane tank.